Let's continue part 2 of our shiurim of Big Day Kohen Gadol, the garments of the Kohen Gadol. With them, are they able to serve Hashem with holiness? And we saw something very pnimi, very holy about the understanding that the Urim v'Tumim, carrying the names, holy names of God, holy names of Bnei Yisrael on the outer stones. Something very mysterious happens. The letters are lit up when national matters are brought to the Kohen Gadol. This was the understanding of the Ramban, Rashi, and some others, unlike Rambam, Maimonides, which we're not going to get into. But this would allow great national matters to be decided, as we learn in the Chumash and Tanakh. For instance, allocating parts of Eretz Yisrael was in front of the Kohen Gadol. Am Yisrael's opposite him, all the names of the tribes of Israel, Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, are on his heart. And then letters would pop up to allocate which area to which tribe. King David would go before the Kohen Gadol. Should we or not go out to war? Basic national issues of Am Yisrael, of national importance, of course, would be decided by that. There's much more to talk about that. However, we don't have time allowance. We want to see the next 2 and last Begadim. Please tell me the order of Begadim we wrote down yesterday. Number 1 was Choshen. Number 2, number 3, Me'il. Number 4, Ketonet, Tashbeit, then Mitznefet. Okay, so what we want to see now is the Me'il. Today we use the modern word day Me'il for an outer coat, and truthfully speaking, the Me'il here is an outer coat, because the inner coat will be called the Ketonet, the Ketonet that'll go on the skin of the Kohen. And the Torah says in verse 31 of chapter 28, please follow, Vasita et Me'il ha'ephod kalil techelet. If we understand kalil, kulo, all of it has to be the color blue of the fabric called techelet is a color.
It's wool.
It's wool, tzemer. It'll be tzemer dyed the color techelet. What was the order of our study here? We studied first the ephod, because we said maybe it's the largest of all the garments. Then we studied about the choshen, because the choshen will be connected to the ephod. And now we come to the do you have what's stated in my Chumash? Me'il ha'ephod? 1 second. Is this a second ephod? Do you see what I see? And our question is, Me'il ha'ephod? Or just Me'il? Well, why is the Torah calling it Me'il ha'ephod, the coat of the ephod? So the simple meaning is, on the Me'il, the ephod is worn. On the Me'il, you have the sefer here, I believe. We had it until today. It was on the table. It's not here, no longer here. The special sefer of the Kohen Gadol, of the garments, it was here. In any event, no one's leaving the room. We're going to make a security check. Thank you, found it, so you can just open it up and check it out yourself. So remember, the ephod is worn on the Me'il, and therefore the Torah calls it Me'il ha'ephod. Okay? Me'il ha'ephod. Now, it's all blue. Kalil techelet. The fact that it's all blue, there must be a reasoning to it. And the fact that the ephod is on the Me'il, there must be also some significance to the Me'il here. Do you remember that we said about the ephod and about the choshen, they're worthy, forgiving memory, zikaron. Not that God needs a reminder, we need the reminder. They're coming to remind us that God has chosen this people, that God has made the brit with Am Yisrael. Is the Me'il also for zikaron, to remind us? Well, maybe that's the reason why it's connected, thank you, it's connected to the ephod. The ephod's coming to for zikaron between God and Israel. Maybe the me'il as well. And maybe that's the reason why it's unusual, as you see in the picture here, unlike any other garment. It's totally the color Techelet. Where did we study about Techelet in the Torah? Tzitzit. What did our sages tell us regarding Techelet? The color Techelet? That Techelet is similar to what? First, to the ocean. And then the Yam is reflecting the Shamayim. And the Shamayim is under Kisei HaKavod, the throne. Kisei, the throne of Hashem. So therefore the Rashbam, a simplistic commentator, he says also the Me'il, one of the reasons why it's called Me'il HaEphod is to tell us that it too is coming for Zikaron. It's coming to remind us of godliness, of nobility, of greatness. And therefore it is totally the color Techelet. Okay? Totally Techelet. That's point number one that we want to study. You should also know that unlike a lot of outer shirts which have a tzavaron, what is this called? And right, what is this called in your shirt in English? Your collar. Here, the me'il has no collar. And some even explain that it may not even have sleeves. And therefore there are a few understandings that you see in the Sefer that's going around you. Now, at the hem, at the end of the me'il, let's look at it, verse 33, please. V'asita al shulav, shulayim. I'm the police. I see that you're speeding. I say to you, go to the shulayim. For the Department of Transportation, the word shulayim is the shoulder of the road, the side of the road. What is it called again in Hebrew? Shulayim. And if this gentleman is a professional weaver or sewer, he may make shulayim for your pants, the hem, the edge of your pants. What is it called again in Hebrew? Shulayim. That's what I thought it's called. Very good. Vasita al Yes, sir.
Can I go back to 32?
Only if you ask nicely. That's the magic word.
The opening is going to the inside, it's written.
Yes.
What's the meaning about this? Why it's going to the inside?
I'm not sure of the answer. I have to look that up. I think I saw something briefly last night and I didn't give it enough thought. I'll try to look into it. Thank you for the good question. Ravid asking a good question. Vasita al shula. What is going to be Thehem? It says, Rimone tchelet ve'argaman v'tolat shani al shulav saviv, all around the beged. Saviv, all around the beged.
Isn't that like environment kind of like that?
Let's think and together. First, it says rimonim, rimone. Rimone is conjunctive. Hey, you. What can you buy in the market still today out of refrigeration? A rimon, right? It's also in the army, a rimon is a hand grenade. Rimon, because it's the form of that. So we're talking about military actions here. Is the Kohen Gadol wearing hand grenades? No. We're talking about, we call in Hebrew a kishut. A kishut. What is a kishut? Like a decoration. He's going to wear rimonim made out of number one, tchelet. Number two, argaman. We're in verse 33. Number three, v'tolat shani. And it's going to be where al shulav, at the hem. Follow the Hebrew. Saviv, meaning all around the beged called the me'il. Now, the next words, ufa'amonei zahav bitocham saviv. When I read that there are pa'amonim made out of zahav, there's a pa'amon zahav, and it says bitocham. So maybe this pa'amon, this bell, is bitoch. The simple meaning of bitoch is? Inside the what? The bell. The rimonim. Don't do it again. It's okay. Okay, it says, look again at the end of 33. Ufamonei zav bitocham saviv. I don't want to look at pictures. I want to look at the pshat. I want to understand. Because we're going to see a classic difference of opinion between Rashi and Rambam. No, I'm sorry, Rashi, Rambam as versus Ramban. And then the next pasuk says this, Pamon zahav v'rimon, Pamon zahav v'rimon. Taran, 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 right? Al shulei me'il saviv. And I'm asking myself, why does the Torah say, Pamon zahav v'rimon, Pamon zahav v'rimon? Why is it repeating it? Could it be that the second pasuk that we're now trying to understand is a description, an explanation of what bitocham saviv is? Because, my dear friends, Rashi, go look at Rashi in verse 34. Pamon zahav v'rimon, Rashi gives me one word. Find that one word in Rashi. Rashi, verse 34. You see Menachem in Rashi? Is that what he says there?
Yeah, that's 33.
It's low.
It's low. Don't think bitocham really here means what? Inside it. Rather, etzlo. Mi yoshev etzlecha? Mi yoshev etzlecha? Russell? Moshe. Moshe yoshev etzlecha. Next to you. Etzlecha. Right? Yes or no? Rashi understands the fact that the Torah is saying, Pamon zahav v'rimon, Pamon. That means that's going to be consecutive things. A pamon, a bell. A rimon, a pomegranate, and then a bell. Please show it the example that Rashi understood. Can you point to that, please? Pamon zahav v'rimon. However, so in other words, all the pamonim, the bells, are in between two rimonim. One more time. Rimonim. Excellent. That's how Rashi, Rashbam, and Rambam understood. That's how they explained the words Beinayim. Beinayim means around them. Do you understand? It's not taking the pshat away. Beinayim, in between them. There's a pamon, rimon, and there's a rimon to both sides of the pamon in the middle. Pamon zahav v'rimon. However, Ramban did not understand this way. What did Ramban said? Listen to this, two words in Hebrew. Bitocham mamash. What does mamash mean? Like they say,
like awesome.
Mamish, right? Really, in reality. Mamash. Bitocham, inside them, mamash. Now, the number. We don't see how many pamonim and how many rimonim are there supposed to be. So we have Torah Sheba'al Peh, the oral Torah. And the oral Torah says that there were 72 pamonim. 72 pamonim, okay? And 72, apparently, would it be rimonim? No, it wouldn't be that. It would be 36. 36 to one side. I'm sorry, 36 of the bells in the front part of the beged, 36 in the back. Sachakol 72 pa'amonim bells are there according to Chazal, oral Torah. We already met up yesterday that there were 72 letters engraved in the 12 stones of the Choshen, and according to the Ramban's understanding, that the Urim V'Tumim, not like Rambam, which I'm not teaching now, or yesterday, that the Urim V'Tumim is like a Torah, it's like a Sefer Torah, it's like a cloth, it's a parchment with a 72-letter name of God. So we see here that the names of God, as if there's so much holiness here. There's so much holiness in the Choshen, in the Me'il. And the Torah says in the following way. Okay, would you please let Amos also look at it? I mean, equal rights for young people as well. Okay. V'haya. 35. Vayala Aaron l'sharet. This beged has to be on Aaron when he is serving God. Ding-a-ling-a-ling. V'nishma kolo. Maybe the Christian world, I think, what do they do? Wedding bells? Is that what the Christian world does in the Christian culture? They sound the bells. They have bells in their churches also, right? Maybe they took it from here. Who knows? I don't know the history where it started.
I don't know. They worship a man. They probably just like the sound of bells.
They just like the sound.
No.
What time? What'd you say?
That's how they would announce it every hour. I don't know if it was
Okay.
an hour. They would announce the bell to let people know that.
Okay, so a bell could be something universal.
Yeah, I don't know.
Here it says, Vayal Aron l'sharet, v'nishma kolo. You're going to hear the call of what? The sound of what? No. The call of what? Bivo'o el HaKodesh. When he goes into the Kodesh, you're going to hear the call. What call? Of the bells. That's on the bottom, the hem of the Me'il. Because when he goes into the Kodesh, he's Lifnei Hashem. When he goes in, you're going to hear the bells. Uvitzeito, when he go out, velo yamot. He's not going to die. What is the Torah telling us about the severity of this matter, my dear friends? If you were, you're the one sitting next to you, Etzlo. Open up Vayikra Tetzaveh. Vayikra what? Tetzaveh. That's the famous chapter of the service of the Kohen Gadol on the holy day of Yom Kippurim. Where? Vayikra what? Tetzaveh. I remember now. Vayikra Tetzaveh. There you find out the next pasuk. Listen to me, please. You're allowed to look up if you have Vayikra, but in your Chumash, Mr. Yossi, you don't have Vayikra. You'll have to rely and trust me. The Torah says, and I'm quoting, V'chol adam lo yihiyeh bi-ohel moed. No man can be in the ohel moed. You're listening, Ravid? No man can be in the tent of meeting. When? Bivo'o. When he comes. Who's the chapter talking about? Vayikra what? Tetzaveh. Vayikra Tetzaveh. When he goes in, no one can be in there. Lechaper b'kodesh, to atone for the kodesh. Ad seito, until he leaves. Do you understand the pshat? Rashbam says, do you know why? Perhaps God commanded to put these bells at the hem of the clothing, that when he walks in, he's alerting everyone out. When he goes into the Kodesh to atone for Am Yisrael, no one shall be in there, because at a distance they can hear the bells ringing. That's point number one.
So,
Point number two, and then we'll entertain or host your questions, okay, is number two. The Kohen Gadol, when he's working on that very holy day, and he goes into the Kodesh, and again into the Kodesh Kodeshim, it's like a minister. Hear ye, okay? Right now the minister is coming before the king, and we would like to announce his entrance. Okay? So instead of playing music on Yom Kippur or something, we have the actual walking of the Kohen Gadol. It's announcing the Sar, the minister of Am Yisrael, is coming before the king who is God to do the atonement. That's by way of understanding these matters. Let's go according to place where you're sitting. Number one, Ravid. Number two, Ranan. And number three, Amos.
You're up.
yeah. Remember what I want to.
Oh,
Yeah, okay. I think now we can understand what the meaning of the bells are. It's
The belt. We have yet to get to the belt, but do you like to say something?
Yeah, because it's something like a wake-up call to be.
The belt or the me'il? We're talking about
The bells.
The bells.
The bells.
the bells. I'm sorry. Yes, it's like a wake-up call. Yes.
Yes. To be aware that he's coming in. And he's going
Absolutely.
out and
That's what the Rashbam says. Very nice. Because there's a prohibition for others to be present in the Kodesh when the Kohen Gadol walks in. As it says in Vayikra.
Tetzaveh.
There you go. You guys know Chumash. You guys know it by heart. Mr. Renan.
When the Kohen go in the Kodesh Kodashim, he should not stop to walk, right? Because they need to hear the bells.
Mhm.
So if the bells stop,
God forbid, no one's going to be in the Kodesh Kodeshim. Don't worry. No one's going to be in the Kodesh Kodeshim. There might be a Kohen in the area of the Kodesh. And when he hears the Kohen approaching the Kodesh, they go out.
the Kohen Gadol, he goes one time in the
He goes several times into the Kodesh Kodeshim. On Yom Kippur, that's correct.
Yeah. So when he goes there, he was attached with a rope.
Yes.
Yes.
God forbid if he doesn't come out alive.
Yeah.
The oral Torah says.
allowed to go in there, so they come out.
So
Thank you.
He should not stop to walk inside or hear the bells all the time, right? Because if the bells stop, he's dead.
I don't see that. If the bells stop ringing, he's dead. I don't see that. It has to be on him. That
Yeah,
the Torah.
it's only him.
But it doesn't.
So-
I don't think that he's not allowed to stop and be stationary. I never saw that. I have to check that out. I'm not. I don't think that's. It may not be correct. No.
No, because when he we need
Find
to-
me the source and please show it to me. I'd be happy to learn it.
It's a midrash.
The midrash. Okay, we'll check it out. Mr. Amos, thank you.
I already heard my answer.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, then let's go according to order. Yossi.
It sounds like he's always wearing a constant amount of like gold. It's got to be like extremely heavy, no?
But the fine artisans know how to make the thin. These are threads of
Even
gold.
so, he's got
Yes.
so many layers, and even the threads themselves are thick.
Okay.
It's,
You're right.
It's heavy, and it must be also hot under so many layers.
Okay.
How could he do it for an entire day without ever?
Thank you. Your question is well taken, and I didn't think about this previously, but we've aired a similar question that's now being raised, and the answer, in my humble understanding, is the following: Am Yisrael is a kadosh nation. The holiest kadosh is above the mundane. Kadosh is above the physical, material level of the world. The holy temple, the Temple Mount, Harabayit, Hara Moriah, is the holiest place on the planet of Earth. It's also above the mundane, above the material, even though it is a physical place. When we learn about the attributes of the Beit HaMikdash, as described to us about those 10 miracles that would happen in the Beit HaMikdash in Pirkei Avot chapter 5, we come to an understanding that we're relating, although on a physical level, we're also relating on a metaphysical level. And there are a lot of things that are just above nature. A sample, a case that you may remember, is that when during the holidays, Pesach, Shavuot, and Sukkot, when there could be, who knows, humongous numbers of Jewish people on the Temple Mount, and they are listening to the Kohen Gadol service, and he's shouting out God's name, and they in the courtyard would hear it out of awe, standing up. They're all tight, one next to another, and they're so crowded, yet something miraculous happened when they bowed down. They were standing tzfufim crowded, and then they would bow down in awe of hearing God's name, and all of a sudden, it's like everyone has a coliseum. Everyone has so much ample space to prostrate and bow down onto the ground. What is it coming to show us? That there are things that are above nature. Am Yisrael is an above nature nation. The Kohen Gadol's Kedusha is above regular Kedusha. The Holy Temple and the holiest day of the year, Yom Kippur, all are contributing together to a metaphysical situation that maybe he doesn't even sense it, the weight. Mr. Hirsch, Tiveria.
So on Yom Kippur, as I understand historically, the Kohen Gadol goes to Holy of Holies.
Just mean from the Torah. We're not studying history. In the Torah says in Vayikra Tetzaveh, the work of Kohen Gadol goes to the Holy of Holies, and continue, please.
And then he speaks in some sort of a mechanism that propagates his sound to the people in the Kohen, and he says Yudke Vavke, but he actually pronounces his name. He says on like Yom Kippur.
It's not. I can't simplify to your question. We have 7 chapters of Mishnah and Gemara in Masechet Yoma that from chapter 1 until chapter 8, not including 8, deal with the Avodav Kohen Gadol. So much work, so many things he's doing, and some of it we actually say, not to forget it, on Yom Kippur service after in the Musaf service. It's a lot of things to say. Right now we're not learning Masechet Yoma. Russell, the last one, and then I want to get to the tzitz. Go, sir.
Regarding the coming in of the Kohen Gadol in the pasuk we read, would he have been wearing his normal garments with the Gadol, or would have been wearing his linen garments at that time?
Here he's wearing, so he changes his clothing 5 times during the day and goes into the mikveh 10 times a day. But here I'm simply thinking he's using white clothing, as we'll learn in Vayikra Tetzaveh, because when he goes into the Holy of Holies to do atonement, let's say also for the sin of the golden calf, we don't want him to be wearing gold clothing, as the Talmud says in Masechet Rosh Hashanah, quote, Ein kategor naseh sanagor. A prosecuting attorney cannot be staging himself as a defense attorney. Therefore, he doesn't wear gold. We're now going to the last part of this for the shore of the garments of the Kohen Gadol. We're coming to the tzitz. Pasuk Lamed Vav, verse 36. Again, we're apologizing. We don't have ample time to go through all the details, and I am picking out certain parts that I want to share with you. Ve'asita. Remember that verb? Remember what we said yesterday? Which verb is found most times in this chapter? Ve'asita. And where does it not say ve'asita? You remember what we said? With what? The Urim v'Tumim, we didn't see the word ve'asita. So too in Parshat Vayakel 3 weeks from now, when we read the actual doing, the Torah will use the word, and he did, vayas, and he did, and he did, and he did. And when we come up to the Urim v'Tumim, guess which word doesn't appear? Vayas. So this is brought together the same idea. Okay. Ve'asita tzitz zahav tahor. We're talking now about this plate of gold, pure gold. Ufitachta alav, you're going to engrave on it, pituchei chotam. We're talking about the engraving of letters. Which letters? The next two words. Kodesh laHashem. V'samta oto, we're going to place this golden plate. Where are you going to place it? Al pitil techel, you're going to connect it to a thread of V'haya, and it'll be where? Al ha-mitznafet. We're talking about the headgear, the turban that he's wearing. But it's not going to be exactly on the mitznafet. Rather, there'll be like this. He's going to be wearing the mitznafet. On his forehead, he's going to wear this, the Talmud explains, this sheet or this plate of metal. And in between the mitznafet and in between the tzitz, what will there be room for?
2 words.
Again, he's going to wear this on his forehead, the mitznefet above it, and there's going to be ample space for something to be in between the mitznefet and this tzitz, and that will be tefillin. Very good. The Talmud says there'll be space to have this tefillin here at the edge of his hairline. Do I still have hair? Yeah, I still have some hair there. And that will be the tzitz. Look. אתה רוצה להציץ? Do you want to glance? Do you want to peek? Do you want to glance? Latzitz. We ask ourselves this word. We're not familiar with this word, latzitz. As some of you know, let's ask our Sephardi friends that often read Shir HaShirim before Shabbos night. Do you? Okay. So, what does God?
Very confident.
What does Shlomo Melech say there in chapter 2, verse 9? That God is meitzitz min hacharakim. Out of those little cracks, those little holes, God is glancing and seeing through. He sees to every place. Have you come up with that verse? Matzitz min hacharakim. So, if we want to understand the meaning, why is this plate of gold, pure gold, called tzitz? So we offered one meaning, and that is the Rashbam's meaning, that since he's putting it on the forehead, which is the area just above the eyes where people can see, so it's like an area as if you're glancing. That's one understanding. Another understanding is the gold plate would be shining so much. Notzitz, shining, mavrik, just like a flower that's opening up and blossoming. So that's an idea of this matter. Now, gentlemen, when you see a golden plate opposite you, it strikes your eyes. It's very bright. It's very full of splendors, full of specialty. And that's how Hirsch explains, Rav Shimshon Efron Hirsch, it's something that presents itself strikingly to the eye. And therefore it's called tzitz. Okay? You glance at it, you see it. Okay? One more point. What I just told you about tefillin is in between the mitznefet and the tzitz. Rashi brings it here in verse 37, in the name of the Gemara, in Mesechet, I think, Zvachim. Gentlemen, what is the purpose? What is it doing? Vehaya, let's keep on reading. Al metzach Aaron. It's going to be on the forehead of Aaron. V'nasa Aaron et avon hakodeshim. V'nasa Aaron. Very important verb we're learning, which is an irregular verb. We're seeing it time after time. Let me go back to the infinitive. Laseit, with a sin. And I gave you a hint, a masait, a truck. Very good, you remember, right? Laseit, to carry. To carry here, metaphysically. To carry here, spiritually. What is Aaron carrying? Remember, he has on his shoulders the burden of the Jewish people, the 12 tribes. We said that yesterday. On the two, what stones are they called? The letter Shin? Shoat? Shoham stones, very good. He's carrying the Shoham stones with the burden of the Jewish people. So we saw the word there, Vinasa, that he's carrying. We saw that he's taking to heart all the Jewish people. The names of all the 12 tribes. And Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, and are on his heart. What's to your heart is close to you. It means have a lot of significance to you. And now a third thing, the tzitz, when it's on his forehead, it says, V'nasa Aaron et avon hakodashim. Something here mysterious, mystical, that when he's wearing the tzitz, do you know what it's doing? It's providing kapara. It's providing atonement. What type of atonement? Atonement of kodashim. Related to the realm of holies. What do you mean? Asher yakdishu b'nei Yisrael, that when b'nei Yisrael are sanctifying matters, objects, assets, and they make mistakes when they bring it to the Beit HaMikdash, l'chol matnot kodshim, regarding all or any of the gifts of the kodashim, you know what's going to happen? Vayal mitzchot tamid. It's going to be on his forehead all the time that sits. L'ratzon lehem lifnei Hashem. And this will serve as the goodwill for them before the presence of God. There are a lot of sugyot in the Gemara that deal with trying to explain what exactly are the sins of the Kodashim. Okay. You see the guy sitting next to me, Mr. Resnick? Okay. He went to the market with lambs over there, and he sanctified a lamb. He brought it into the dormitory. He wasn't allowed, but no one was watching.
You weren't around.
Okay,
Me.
there you go. He brought it to Machon Meir. You know, it's already afternoon, evening. He's not going to make it to the Beit HaMikdash in time. He's waking up at 5:30, going to shower, clean himself, daven, and take the lamb straight to the Beit HaMikdash. For 5 minutes, when he had to take care of his needs, he left the lamb with one of the persons that just came back from a funeral. And the person was taking care of the animal. What did the person come back from funeral? What is his state of? He's in the state of?
Morning.
Tum'ah. Tum'ah. Can you pronounce the word again? Tum'ah, which is? Defiled, not dirty. You don't need soap to wipe that off, right? So he's spiritually unclean. Thank you. Spiritually unclean. And he turned the animal. I mean, he said, mutzi putzi, and he combed his hair. You get ready for the Beit HaMikdash Korban. You got to look really nice before God, he told the little lamb. Okay? And you, when you came back from the toilet, you didn't know that your buddy came from a funeral. You went to the Beit, you took him on the train. They allow you to bring korbanot on the train en route to the Beit HaMikdash. And you're walking through Shar Shechem or Shar Yafo, and you're getting to the Temple Mount, and you meet up with Yossi Cohen, Reuven Cohen, whatever he was. And he says, hey, I'm coming this morning, so I want to give a thanks offering to God. God's going to heal my father. He's going to give him a refuah shlema. Amen, Be'ezat Hashem. And he wants to give a thanks offering to God. And he gets there. Not he, nor the Kohen knows the real state. We don't have we don't have an X-ray machine to find out if the lamb is tamei or not. You didn't even know about it. You were mistaken. You actually brought a korban which is tamei to the Beit HaMikdash. Is that proper or improper? Is it called avon? It's a sin, but no one knew. Do you know what God decided? You have a lovely hand. Keep it down. Do you know what God decided? That when the Kohen Gadol is wearing the tzitz, it has the power to atone sins of this sort. Any matters related to violations of kodashim matters, holy matters in the temple, whether it's mistakenly done or it's done out of duress, in merit of the holiness of the tzitz, You're off the, what do you call it? You're off the what?
Off the hook.
You're off the hook, thank you. Okay? Why? The tzitz is providing kapara. What's your question, Thomas? You had a question, Nathan? Yes, sir. You had a question. Sorry.
I think you kind of answered, but I was just wondering. So, since the tzitz has this
Kodesh LaHashem engraved. Kodesh LaHashem. So much holiness here. The holiness has power. Holiness has power. We have to believe holiness has power. Here it is.
Mhm.
Yes, sir.
Does that mean like, let's say under some strange circumstance, the Kohen Gadol ran into the mourner that was coming from the funeral somehow? Does that mean
Assistant Kohen Gadol, you're on deck waiting to replace him? Come on in.
Does
First
that-
Mishnah, chapter 1, Mishnah 1. We must appoint prior to Yom Kippur a deputy Kohen Gadol.
Okay.
Why? What might happen to him?
Die.
Might die. And you have to find someone who's married because you need to buy it. Go ahead.
Well, actually, that's another question. What if that person, what if the Kohen Gadol, like wife, for example, passes away? Does that mean? How does that?
So Mishnah 1 deals with all these details.
Okay, but anyways, my original question was: does that mean that the person in mourning is no longer tameh if they happen to?
No. If someone came in contact with Tuma, God willing, when we have the ashes of the red heifer, as the Torah says in Bamidbar chapter 19, we're going to sprinkle ashes on Yom Shlishi, on Yom Hashvi, the third day and the seventh day, and that mysteriously makes you tahor, pure. Moshe?
So I don't mean to backtrack, but there's a burning question I've always had. So there's the Hashem's name is the longest form of Hashem's name.
72 letter name.
72 letter name.
We discussed yesterday. That's going to be in the Urim V'Tumim according to Ramban and some others.
So that name is like as of today is encoded in the Talmud. But if I were to hypothetically, again, this is purely hypothetical. The mathematics of it just don't work out. But hypothetically, if I were to get 22 to the power of 70 pieces of parchment.
Would you get this guy out of the room, please?
And write down every single possible combination of
take
70
him away,
letters,
Jacob. Take him away already.
Of 70 Hebrew letters.
This is not a question for the rabbi. This is a question for the Kohen Gadol.
One of them is going to be. One of them is going to be.
Only Moshe Wiedemann could ask a question like that. Gentlemen, I want to end the shiur.
Don't work out. It's not possible. But
There's no actual question there. Just
No.
Come to me after shiur and I'll give you your tefillin.
Oh, okay. That answers my
That quiet him down.
But no, my
Adkan.
it is encoded in the Talmud. That name is encoded in the
I don't deal with it, and we don't deal with it. It's very, very holy, sacred, and hidden. Gentlemen, Rav Hirsch says to end the matter here of the tzitz, the fact that it's on the forehead of the Kohen Gadol, and the Kohen Gadol represents all of the avodah in the Beit HaMikdash, especially on Yom Kippur. The fact that it's bearing the inscription, Kodesh LaHashem, in other words, when he's walking around, he's positively declaring godliness. The fact that we can bring kapara in the world, it's not because of me, it's because of God, His Torah, His mitzvot. These are His laws. In other words, the one who's he asked me to wear this, and right now I'm going in the most holy place, I'm wearing the most holy clothing, and it's doing this, that's in his mind. It's not by mere incidence that it's on his forehead where his mind is. And by doing so, these are the properties of bringing kapara, atonement, and slicha, forgiveness for the Jewish people. In verse 39, we'll just end, and you talked about the avneit the moment before. There's a ketonet here, that's the undergarment, and it's vishibatsta, ketonet shesh 39. It's going to be checkered. You're going to make it out of sheish. We learned yesterday sheish is linen. Very good. So, is the ketonet sha'atnes? Is the ketonet kilayim? Yes or no?
No.
We are two different answers on this table right now. Look and examine the chumash and tell me, is the ketonet kilayim sha'atnes? Yes, that's what I'm asking. That's correct answer. It's not, because it's only made out of Sheish, very good. Next question. Mitznefet, the turban, which will be later described in chapter 39. It too is made out of sheish. So is the turban also or not kilayim? Also yes or not? The mitznefet is only made out of sheish. It's not made out of wool. It's just made out of linen. Very good. Question number 3. V'avneit, the belt. Taseh maserokem. You're going to embroider. It's going to be the work of embroidery. Are we told what it's made out of? But when you open up chapter 39 and you see verse 29, you see that the avneit of the Kohen Gadol is made out of sheish, tantaran, and pishtan. What is pishtan? And wool. No, I'm sorry. It's sheish, pishtan, and other garments. So we're going to see that it's made out of kilayim. Sachakol, 3 garments that are kilayim, that are shatnez, but the Torah says you have to wear it. Ephod, choshen, and the avneit. We're going to stop here, gentlemen. Have a good day. Shalom.
Thank you, Rabbi.